And we're live. And we're only 15 minutes late. It is Monday. It is September 1st, the year of our Lord 2025. It is Labor Day, which is the only day of the year we set aside to honor uh, the birthing process. It is 8:16 a.m. The tech problems are part of the show. We had a dinner last night, blah, 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 blah. And you are watching Dog Shirt TV. And what is it, cactuses?
Oh, man, this is just getting increasingly hard.
You're watching Dog Shirt TV, a forking revolution in morning television.
You are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is a forking revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, of which there are many, is that sometimes my internet sucks for reasons I have no idea of, and it's still not great, but it is working a little bit, and um, and um, uh, the show gets delayed by unexplained technical fuck ups, fork ups. And another one of the revolutionary features is that sometimes when I finally get back on screen, there is not merely a Jonathan Rauch there, who is still not a Mormon woman for all of his best efforts, but there is a John Hawkinson who identifies as a Hermione Granger. Look, I'm Benjamin Wittes. Uh, I don't know where Ev Gamond is, but
In and out.
she's in and out. And there is
Yeah.
Holly Berkley Fletcher, former CIA analyst, and you're here, and we're here, and so to everybody who's getting in the way, all the gremlins, uh, go fork yourself. Um, all of
You know
which
what
is
it is,
a
Ben?
long-winded way of saying that we're not allowed to have fun anymore. But neither snow nor sleet nor hail nor internet gremlins shall prevent this show from going forward. Holly, you were saying.
Yeah, I know. I think the reason is, it's Labor Day, which unlike your in contradiction of your explanation is not about women having children. It's about workers, and I'm assuming maybe some internet workers are actually taking the day off, which is probably what we should be doing, although I think you would be hard pressed to call this work.
I have a counter theory,
Go for it.
and that theory is that there's been a Canadian strike. Namely, after titling Friday's show "Guilting Alicia," Alicia has decided that the pains of her internet should be foisted off upon Ben, and she has launched a counter strike upon you, and now you are enjoying the fruits of that counter strike.
The problem with that theory is that Alicia is in Slovenia.
She has
And
minions.
I don't think Alicia is responsible for today's problems.
That
Um,
may be, but the Slovenia part is not a serious impediment. She has minions. She has your putative business next door neighbors. She's got ways.
all right, maybe it's all Alicia's fault.
I mean, it doesn't seem like her jam, but nonetheless, that's exactly why it would be.
y'all discuss in the chat the blame Alicia theory. Um, uh, I am flustered by all of this. Uh, recall a time when Kate and I used to say that the tech glitches are part of the show. This case is more the tech glitches taking over the show. That said, we soldier on. Holly Berkley Fletcher, Jonathan Rauch, John Hawkinson, what is on your mind this morning?
Maybe Jonathan should speak because he came here specifically for some reason.
Well, unfortunately, I still have my lingering cough, which I
Oh,
can't
yes.
seem to get rid of. It
Ugh.
does make my voice deeper and sexier, but it makes it hard to get out more than a sentence without coughing.
Maybe you can
I
do
will
like
say,
do a charades thing and we'll guess what your topic is.
well, besides complimenting Holly on her nails, which she should hold up for the world to see, those are Ukrainian flags, especially done by a nail salon in what she calls gel. I don't know what that is, but apparently it's a good thing. I thought I'd mention that my encounter for the first time with a Slovak journalist named Marina Galasova, who works for the Slovak weekly magazine .tyzden, who interviewed me from
Wait,
Slovakia
what's the
about
what's the magazine called?
.tyzden, .tisden, lowercase.
Oh, Tisden probably means weekend.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I guess I should look. Let's see. Tyzden in English. A week. It means the week.
Yeah.
So, the slightly otherworldly experience of talking to an Eastern European about the rise of patrimonialism in the United States and all the things that are happening here, which are the same as the things that are happening there.
So
So that made me feel like,
tell us about it.
well, that's kind of all there is to tell. It just made me feel like a complete schmuck. You know, I spent the first, excuse me, the first 64 years of my life lecturing Eastern Europeans about how to get their house in order and not have a patrimonialist system. For those who don't know, patrimonialism is the system where the head of state owns the government as his personal property and his family's personal property to do with as he pleases. And the only principle of the state is loyalty to the person in charge. And that's what Donald Trump and his minions are doing in the United States right now. It's a little different from classic authoritarianism, which is more bureaucratic, secret police, propaganda ministry, paramilitaries. Now, they're doing some of that. ICE might turn out that way, but for now, it's mostly just they're snipping the ordinary ties of loyalty to bureaucracy, merit, and law to loyalty to Donald Trump. And it's moving very, very quickly in the United States. People don't seem to understand it. They don't seem to know what to do about it. And here I am talking to a Slovak journalist who's saying, we've seen all of that over here. What can you advise? And me saying to her, no. What can you advise? We appear to be helpless against this juggernaut. Now, we're not truly helpless. I'm not claiming that. But I never would have thought that I'd be having that conversation in 2025 or ever with a Slovak journalist. She's very nice, by the way. I met her at the Institute for the Study of Modern Authoritarianism shindig a couple of weeks ago in August. I'm surprised if you don't know her. I guess she's she's a brave Eastern European journalist trying to defend what she can of a free press.
Interesting. Holly, you are an expert on patrimonialism. What do you make of this story?
Well, just in general, I echo Jonathan's experience of being humbled as an American, because that's the experience I've had talking to Africans of late, whereas obviously the United States has been sort of lecturing in their minds, sometimes lecturing or leading the way, a guiding light on democracy and championing democracy. And these days when I talk to African friends, it's like, yeah, I think I told you that I was chatting with a Kenyan hotel worker over the summer about the tourism industry and the protests in Kenya and being worried about it harming tourism. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, these protests, they make news in the US or in Europe. People see this in the news and then they're afraid to come here. And he's like, yeah, our protests, it's kind of like your January 6th, yes?
And you can't say no. You can't say no, no, it's really different.
Yeah, no, I was like, that's a fair point. I guess the main difference, of course, is that the United States is a huge country and you can more easily avoid, scenes like January 6th if you happen to be in the country that day versus in Kenya when they have a big day of protests. It's very difficult to avoid the fallout from that. So, but I was like, your point stands, Um, yeah,
Well, I
Jonathan,
have been
it's so
engaged.
humbling.
I have been engaged in a form of political protest that I'm hoping will catch on. And I want to stress that I am not, in talking about this, admitting any incident of chalk crime. So, to those who may interpret what I'm saying as confession of a felony or a misdemeanor, such as it is, I want to stress that I am not admitting. You can parse my words and and listen as carefully as you want, and you will find that there is no admission here that any individual chalk crime was committed by me. That said, I am stating in general, as a general matter, that I have been going around the District of Columbia with a piece of chalk, chalking the streets. And I have been doing it a fair bit. I encourage other people, and this does not meet the Brandenburg test of inciting imminent lawless action, because none of you is going to go out and do it right now. Um, and so you can't get me on incitement here, but just as a general matter, I want to encourage people in the District of Columbia to draw things on the sidewalks, on the streets, in the crosswalks. By the way, there's a great thing going on in Florida of people drawing rainbows in crosswalks. Ron DeSantis really doesn't like it. Near the Pulse nightclub, I encourage that behavior. Don't do it imminently. Don't do it, don't go right from listening to this live to chalking a sidewalk in Florida, because then they're going to get me for inciting imminent lawless action. I don't want to incite imminent lawless action. I want to incite, in general, pervasive lawless action in the form of chalk crime. I want you to grab a piece of sidewalk chalk or some spray. There's some nice chalk spray cans. Uh, if you happen to want 100 pounds of blue and yellow sidewalk chalk, hit me up. I've got it. Thanks to the United States Secret Service, which wouldn't let me spread it in front of the Russian embassy. Um, uh, Whatever your heart's content is, um, you can spread sidewalk chalk in the District of Columbia, as long as, here's the things you don't want to do. When somebody asks you, like a cop asks you, did you do that? You say, I'm going to assert my Fifth Amendment rights. And when you take a picture of it and post it to social media, don't say, for example, in the voice of John Hawkinson, on the John Hawkinson Blue Sky, hey, look what I did, guys. What you say is, hey, look what someone did. Someone did this on, the corner of Connecticut Avenue and blah, blah, blah street. So go out there with chalk, but remember your rights. You're right. You have the right to remain silent if asked if you did it, and if you decide to do social media about it, which I encourage, because many more people will see it on social media. Then please, speak in the third person and not about yourself. Always use the
And
hashtag chalk crime.
uh-huh. And I'm assuming bad idea to videotape yourself doing it.
Well, so that's an interesting question. I think videotaping your hand doing it, if your hand doesn't have distinguishing marks, may be okay. Videotaping,
Ukraine nails would probably be
yeah,
distinguishing.
Ukrainian nails, not such a great idea.
Wear gloves.
Although, what are they going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court that there's no one else with Ukrainian nails who might have sent you the thing? But yeah, you may not want to do the
Gloves. Oh, I know.
glove.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
You could wear a mask, right? And so there are many
I hear
ways to
that's
do it.
okay.
The other thing you could do is just take the risk and risk suffering a misdemeanor prosecution in United States federal court for the District of Columbia, and you might have to go in front of Judge Sparkle Suknanan and say, or
Yeah.
or one of the other great judges on our district court here, you might have to go in front of Judge Royce Lamberth and say, yes, I drew a free DC red
What if you
thing
were to
on
say,
the
yes,
side?
I threw the sandwich?
I'm
Yes,
gonna
I
do it.
threw the sandwich. And I think, I've known Judge Royce Lamberth for many years, and I think he's a wonderful gentleman. I would proudly go in front of Judge Royce Lamberth and say, Judge, he would say, Witness, how do you plead? And I would just have this internal debate. Would I say guilty or would I say proudly guilty?
Mhm.
And
You gotta act proudly.
I don't think, I don't know. I don't think there's a district
It's
judge on
misdemeanor,
that
right? It's
court
not a
who is going to
felony
throw the book at
yet.
you for writing free DC or writing, I don't know, maybe Judge Sparkle Suknanan would throw the book at you. By the way, um, the news of this weekend was so awesome because it gave us a chance to say the name Judge Sparkle Suknanan over and over again. And we're going to do a whole Lawfare Live tomorrow just so that we can say her full name every time we refer to her. Um, maybe she would throw the book at you. She's a new judge, I don't know. But I am confident that you are not going to spend the rest of your life in prison for drawing on the sidewalk with chalk. Also, if you have small children, let them draw rainbows and puppy dogs on the sidewalk because the cops are not going to bother children drawing on
Children.
the sidewalk.
Well, I am going into DC on Saturday for there's a protest. I think it could be quite sizable at Meridian Hills slash Malcolm X Park. And I think I might take some chalk to the protest.
So,
Bring,
Ben,
go,
I
go
just had
for it, John.
a brief comment tactically on your guidance. I think when you're stopped by law enforcement, it's generally best not to say, I plead the Fifth Amendment. I think there's almost always something better to say. It might simply be saying, I don't talk to cops, sorry, or am I free to go? But I'm not sure actually what the best thing to say is, but I think it's probably not, I plead the Fifth Amendment.
Well, you don't plead to a cop. What you
Yeah.
say is, I'm not answering questions without my lawyer.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely better. I still suspect there's some level of appropriate misdirection where you can offer a comment that doesn't make you look as guilty as you might look if you said that. I'm not sure what that ought to be, but I actually would ask you. I would imagine you'd have advice on that.
Well, so my suggestion, it very much depends on context. In my experience with cops in protest situations, which is A, extensive, and B, quite variable. But always involves one factor that, which is that they're the interactions are highly unusual because it's not your usual protest situation. In my experience, it is best to engage with them, but then again, I'm not usually engaged in criminal activity. Now, when apparently, unbeknownst to me, when I'm chalking a sidewalk, that is criminal activity. So I'm not going to admit to a cop that I'm doing it. And they did arrest two people at Union Station 2 days ago for this, which is, yeah, I mean, these people chalked the base of a flagpole, and one of them was wearing a banana suit, and they arrested them for chalk crimes, which is what prompts this latest interest on my part in doing it.
Like arrest, like they took him down and booked him, kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
Wow.
Um,
Are they saying, is that supposedly a felony in that case?
no,
And in
no,
which
it's a
case,
misdemeanor.
I didn't know you
As far as I
got
know,
taken
they
down.
are accused of the same misdemeanor that I was threatened with, which is defacing public property. Which, by the way, if you happen to be listening to this and you are a member of the DC City Council, change that freaking law. You can change it. It's DC law. There is no good reason why it should be a misdemeanor that you can now have National Guard and federal law enforcement people arresting people in public areas of the District of Columbia for drawing on things with chalk. There is no good reason for that, and that is up to you, DC City Council members. So if you're listening to this and you're a member of the DC City Council, do your freaking job. Your constituents are being arrested by feds for chalk crimes, and that is because you aren't doing your jobs as members of a legislative body that can change that law tomorrow.
So our
Related question. Sorry, go ahead.
are National Guard forces arresting? That I had not known. I had assumed that they were turning people
Well,
over to
they
the
are here
DC
in some
police to
kind of
make arrests.
so if you look at the video of what happened at Union Station, there were lots of different, multiple federal agencies involved. Whether any National Guard were certainly present. Whether they made the arrest, I don't know.
I
I
am
don't think they have
seeing
arrest authority, but you would know better than me.
mostly I see the National Guard hanging out in pairs, yeah, it does, in subway stations, reading stuff on their cell phone.
Yeah, they are mostly
Quite
standing around.
quite humiliating for them, I
Of course,
assume.
there is a difference between arrest authority and doing it anyway, or appearing to exercise authority they may lack. A related question for you, Ben. Uh, are you advocate? Would you suggest that those who chalk more on the art side or more on the speech side? I mean, I recognize probably it's your position. All chalk is speech, but I think it's possible to draw things that look more like art and more like words and more like hopscotch. And it seems like each of these three things has some value in pushing the boundaries of the chalk limits, maybe fudging the edges of the chalk. And I wonder what you think is best for people to do.
Yeah, so I actually want to encourage all of the above. I think that people should chalk whatever message they want to convey, and they should do it in as public a location as they feel comfortable. I think drawing a hopscotch course in front of your house is essentially zero risk. Um, uh, Drawing a giant Ukrainian flag in front of the Russian embassy is apparently not zero risk. Although I do want to point out that I got away with it. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get cited. Um,
What about
drawing
support our troops?
support our troops. Fine, if that's what's on your mind, if that's what you feel, go for it. Um, support our troops, get them the fuck out of Washington, D.C., even better. Um, uh, I've been seeing a lot of people are chalking red free DC symbols. I support that. So I look, I don't want to tell people what to do. If you, I'm not an artistically inclined person. I'm not going to do murals. But if you want to take a team out into the middle of an intersection that doesn't get a lot of traffic, don't do anything unsafe. But if you want to make a mural at the cross section where your house is, um, do it. Um, I think the more political the message, the better. The more disparaging of the situation, capital T, capital S, trademark, the better. The more amusing, the better. The most important thing, honestly, is to take pictures of it and share them on social media because many, many more people are going to see them that way. But get out and do it. People walking down the street should see chalk crimes. People driving down the street should see chalk crimes. And I think there's just a very like, and I don't want to tell people what is in their hearts or what, whether a single word is the right thing or whether a mural is, or some people like Holly are much more artistically inclined than I am. I think they should do something different from what I am going to do.
I am
Yeah,
seeing.
I'm artistic in my room with like some time and lots of ability to correct mistakes. Chalk on the sidewalk, I'm probably not gonna put in a great performance. Sorry, Jonathan.
I'm seeing a surprising amount of chalk here in Northern Virginia, where I live. There's lots of trails. So there's foot traffic that's passing through fairly remote places where police don't happen to hang out, unlike Union Station. And um, a lot of it seems to be actually notifying people of meetings and groups and that sort of thing. It's actual samizdat communication, some of it. I should take pictures of it as I go. I don't see it. It's not rampant. It's not everywhere, but it's quite noticeable. So it's a thing, and um, and it's a happening thing. If I could request a small sideways subject change, um,
Yes, but
I've
before
been
we
wanting.
do, um, wait, before you change the subject, I will just say on the subject of chalk crime, I do have uh, 100 pounds of blue and yellow chalk. And so if anybody has an idea for a place, that volume is impossible to spread with the time to get away before police show up. So I don't want to do that illegally. So, but if you have a highly visible location that you are willing to make available to me to spread it, particularly if it's near the Russian embassy, hit me up because I have to figure out what to do with it. I'm not going to let it go to waste. Jonathan, change subject.
Well, I just wondered ever since your live coverage of the John Bolton raid, how you managed to be in the vicinity of John Bolton's house when the raid took place. My first thought was
Operational
this must be
security and
Ben's
trade
neighborhood,
secrets.
and then I realized it's not. Did you get a tip?
I am not talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he told me too. So even in private, he won't even tell me.
Okay.
I
Ben, have
mean,
you
look,
considered using a vehicular-based chalk dispersion device to
so
speed
that
your
is
getaway?
a very interesting question, John Hawkinson. The problem is that DC is so camera laden that I'm not sure um, I mean, I could lean out of a window and dump chalk, but I'm not sure I could do it in a fashion that wouldn't be very traceable to me very quickly.
I was thinking more like a salt spreader attached to the rear bumper.
Yeah, but okay, so there would still be a camera that would catch it, that would see my license plate, that would have police at my door pretty quickly.
Probably best to not obscure the license plate with clouds of chalk, but it's a thought.
I don't think I'm
Can
kind
I?
of known as the guy who chalks the Russian embassy. I'm not sure I'm going to get away with that. Look, if somebody out there wants 100 pounds of chalk to do a drive-by chalking of the Russian embassy, uh, and has a vehicle that can do it, I've got the chalk. Let me know. You're welcome to use it.
Um, can I change the subject and tell you about where I was this weekend?
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have an agenda item? Because I'm about to launch into something. No. Okay. So, as y'all know, my book is out and I'm trying to promote it, and I've had some spectacular success and then this weekend would be qualified as abject failure and humiliation. So
I
I
don't
went
know.
to
The cheerleader photos looked great.
Okay, but what they don't, anyway, let me just tell you the story. I went to this, first of all, there is a large festival every year in North Carolina called Wild Goose. Wild Goose. And it is a gathering of progressive Christians. And yes, there's enough of them to have
Together.
a large festival every year. And this was my first time going. I had heard about it for a while. And it is something, y'all. It's kind of like the Burning Man, the progressive Christian Burning Man, if you can imagine that. Many people camp. I stayed in a hotel
Crucifying
because
man.
I do not camp.
That was
I
a
grew
joke.
up in a boarding school dorm, and I do not do roughing it anymore. So yeah, a lot of people camp, and then there's just, there's a huge lawn with like tents all over it of different, there's like multiple sessions going on at one time, and there's food trucks and vendors, and some of it is real wacky. Like there was a booth for psychedelic Christianity where you take mushrooms. Like I said, not, and then there was like a whole hemp lounge, and I don't know. There's a lot of big age range. It's like a lot of old hippies, a lot of young hippies, a lot of just hipsters, people with tattoos and piercings, lots of queer people. It is really a scene,
How
and
Christian
it's
was it,
amazing.
and how you everything you've described has been the progressive side, but what was the Christian content of it?
The speakers, the programming, there's the one of the most popular sessions at night is beer and hymns, where you drink beer and you sing hymns. It's definitely Christian. It's
Appropriately
just,
titled.
yeah, it's wild. It's very arty, avant-garde. Anyway, I felt a little out of place. This is my problem as like a former evangelical who's not really that lefty anymore at all. Like I'm pretty moderate and all of that. The progressive Christian space is pretty lefty. Like my church is fairly tame, but some of the progressive ex-evangelical people in spaces is very, very left, and they've really embraced the political left, which in some cases is appropriate and good, and in some cases I think gets a little bit crazy. But anyway, this is an audience that I needed to engage with, if in order to sell books. So I went to this thing. And the other thing is, when you register for a session, you don't the registration process was very confusing, and it was not clear to me that you could just go and say give a book talk. It had to be like an experience, at least although a lot of people were just talking, I'm just saying. But when you register, and I hadn't been before, it makes it sound like you have to do an experience, like some sort of like you can't just talk. So I teamed up with another author.
Holly's version of an experience is to put a jigger in everybody's foot while she reads her book
And dig it out with a safety pin.
with an ice cream
So I
scoop.
teamed up with another author who published a book this year, also with my same publisher, and our books have some common themes. Her book is about church camp and like some of the problems and theological and otherwise with the Christian camp phenomenon. And then my book is about missionary kids and missions. And so our sort of theme was kind of poking fun at over the top Christianity, this idea in evangelicalism where you have everything has to be like extra, like you have to have these like spiritual, and then there's a lot of conjuring and manipulation behind the scenes, like where you conjure up these spiritual experiences. And at camp it's called cry night, where it's like the last night of the camp where they make everyone feel extra bad about their sin, and everybody's supposed to cry, and if you don't cry and if you don't sort of come forward and make some sort of rededication of your life, like then you're like suspect. Anyway, I grew up with this as well, even though I never went to these camps. And then in the missionary space, it's like this idolization of these sort of special callings and people who get these special callings, and like missionaries. And so that was kind of the common thread that we pulled on. And we decided to do a skit in which we are cheerleaders doing sort of Jesus cheers over the top, like again, like get everybody all pepped up. And so we wore cheerleading costumes, and actually, which was a great networking tool, just walking around the festival in these cheerleading costumes, because we got noticed. And so people would come over. Someone rather famous in this world just happened to, he was driving by in a golf cart, and he stopped his golf cart and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Ah, here's my card." So, it kind of was a great networking tool. And in this environment, like wearing a cheerleading, there was a lot of weird clothes and costumes, and there was a lot of weird. So it was fine.
Fit right in.
But, and our skit was very funny. And then we did a talk about our books. But the problem is nobody came to our session. Like literally, two camp workers came, or two festival workers came, and three other people came, and then it was us.
Wow. So,
So we went.
attribute the non-attendance to? I mean, it seems like
So
ground zero for your book.
obviously, first of all, our names were not in the program because, again, the registration was confusing. And so we came up with an act name that did not relate to anything anyone had ever heard of. And that was in the paper. They changed it on the digital, but in the paper program, it was this act name and not our names. So, but I don't know that putting our names would have helped because we're not like, neither one of us is like a super big name in this world. Even though we have books out, and a lot of these people would be interested in the books. We're not like big names in this world, and so I don't know that would have helped. But our names weren't in there, and then they just frankly have too many sessions at one time. Like you look at the program, and it's like for like the each slot, there's like 20 different sessions, and there's not enough people at the festival to have that many sessions, I don't think. That's my opinion. And we were way off in a corner, of course. We were clearly the B, if not C or D team, in terms of presenters. So anyway, it was just, we had fun. I enjoyed hanging out with her and getting to know her better. She's a great person. And we had fun, and we did meet a lot of interesting people, and some good networking, like this kind of famous guy that stopped and wanted to know about my cheerleading costume. He says he's going to email me. I will see if that happens. He says he's going to have me on his podcast. I will see if that happens. Um, but it was also, yeah, it was definitely humbling because my launch event, I go out to Michigan. I'm with Kristen Dumais, who's like this huge name in the world that I'm trying to promote my book in, and like people are like the bookstore is like packed out, like it's like a
Well,
hundred
we're going to
plus
pack
people, and I'm
politics
thinking,
and prose.
yeah, we'll see. We'll
Jonathan,
see,
have you
Ben.
heard about
Anyway,
Holly and my
it was
plans for
like,
politics
I
and
come
prose?
back from there, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, I mean, I've learned so much about publishing. First of all, you cannot make money publishing there are like five people who can live off of writing books and freelance articles. And fortunately, I don't need to make money per se, but it is just like stunning how unlucrative this is. Like it's just really, given the amount of work, like the whole, I mean, this has been a years long process. It continues to be a lot of work. And it is just like stunning how little money I'm going to make off of this. It doesn't mean I wouldn't have done it, but it's just like, wow, this is amazingly not, doesn't make any sense in terms of profitability. I guess people just need the attention, and it's an industry based on people's pathetic need for attention, I guess, um, which I would include myself in that. But
I
anyway,
don't
so
know.
I go to the
Jonathan has
Michigan
made
event,
a
and I'm
living over
like,
the years writing.
well, he's again, he has another, he's at the Brookings, these things, you got to have some other gig. You're an academic, you have a job, you work for a think tank, you work for a publication, you have like some other salary.
Do you have a
So
Substack?
anyway, it's fine. I knew when I quit my job that this was not like I was not going to make money off my new enterprise. I'm just hoping to have some sort of impact I'm just doing what I can in the ways that I'm able to try to push back on the current movement. But anyway, back to like the thing. So I go to Michigan, and I'm thinking like, wow, this is amazing. Like this book is going to be like, is going to do well and like have a real impact. And like, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like I came back from Michigan thinking I'm a big deal. I'm going to be a big deal. I'm going to be one of those fancy people, at the dinner last night. I'm like, this is good. I'm going to be, and then I go to this festival, and I'm dressed in a cheerleading costume doing um, cringe cheers for five people. And I'm like, girl, you are not a big deal. You are sad and pathetic.
I think that
So
is an awesome story. I have had, no, I'm totally serious. If you have never had the experience of giving a speech and having nobody show up, it is a great experience. I have done it. I have traveled across the country to give a speech to which there were like five people present. I wasn't wearing a
oh,
cheerleading
really?
outfit,
Okay. Okay.
but
What were you in a cheerleading costume?
well,
You
I
were
mean,
not in
look,
a
I wear
cheerleading.
dog shirts as a general matter, which is kind of like the like similar, although not so sexualized. But I look, I am um, the experience of having nobody show up for your work is one of the great experiences in life. Um, it makes you think about why you did it in the first place. It makes you think
Oh,
about
I
whether
definitely
it
had that thought.
matters. Oh, it's fabulous. And I love it almost as much as having lots of people show up for my work, which is granted a better experience, although one that causes less introspection. Folks, we are going to give Jonathan Rauch the last word today, and then we are going to wrap up on time. Even though we started 15 minutes late, my internet is still, as Nastia would say, a disaster. And I'm flitting in and out, and I'm gonna fix it by tomorrow morning. But Jonathan, still not a Mormon woman, but you have the last word today.
everything that Ben just said, Holly, is true, although speaking to miserable audiences is not fun. It is important for building perspective on life. The way you flog a book is to flog it everywhere. It doesn't matter. Big turnout, small turnout, you just keep going. I once was brought to a college in a city I had to fly to, for which they used the biggest auditorium on campus. It must have seated 2 or 3,000. 4 people showed up.
Yeah.
Because the nitwits who booked it forgot that it was homecoming day. And I just went ahead and did no cheerleading outfit, but I just did the talk, and the meaning of professionalism is that you do it even when you don't feel like it, and you do it well. And I gave those 4 people the talk of their lives, and you'll get used to it. Welcome to my world.
We are gonna leave it there. Jonathan Rauch in a cheerleading outfit. Holly Berkley Fletcher, still not a Mormon woman. We're going to be back tomorrow. And tomorrow it is Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce Day on Dogshirt TV. We're going to have Anna Bauer. We're going to have the inimitable Janine Balechian, who may finally reveal who she actually is. We're not sure about that. We're going to have K-Pomps, Catherine Pompilio, and we're going to. It's going to be a thing. They're gonna talk. They're gonna be lyrics quoting. They're gonna be very excited about the whole.
I mean, I think
I'm
they
sure
probably
you are. I am going to be a
Yeah.
minimal presence, just a bewildered, what the fuck is going on around me kind of host. Look, folks, you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. It's going to be great. And also, on a serious note, we will schedule a Lawfare Live for Tuesday to go over the events of the weekend with Judge Sparkle Suknanan and those 78 Guatemalan children who, last I checked, are still in the United States, thanks to some heroic lawyering and judging over the weekend. I have not, the fact that we're not talking about this today does not mean that it is not a really important thing that happened. My colleague Anna Bauer, who will be with us tomorrow talking Taylor Swift, has been doing just terrific work on Blue Sky, following it, and we will not be talking about that on tomorrow's show, but we will be doing a Lawfare Live on it. Folks, keep the faith, pray with a raised fist, and get some damn sidewalk chalk, people.